We've been through quite a bit of change in terms of the board and corporate governance, so I thought I'd just cover that off at the beginning before leading into the main event with Pippa. There's been a bit of a shareholder mix change this year, and that's largely a result of William's share placing earlier in the year, which has brought more institutional shareholders on the board. And that, I think that's part of the evolution of the board has been driven by the need to meet that and the planned move to AIM. So there's been the move to AIM, which went through in March, and looking at the board and bringing more independent non-executive directors has been a key feature of that move as we came through. So I'd like to welcome Paul Watts, who's sitting at the front today, who's joined the board as an independent director and taken over as chair of the audit committee. And you'll have seen his bio. He's eminently suited to that role, having worked in senior roles in RSM. And again, Jemima Bird has joined the board as an independent director. And again, she's got really good independent director experience, particularly on the remuneration and corporate governance side. So I think it's two really strong people have joined the board to give us a bit more of input from outside rather than what has been a board that has been with the company for a long time. So a little bit of fresh blood and impetus has joined the board. And I think fair to say from the executive team, we've certainly felt a very positive input following those changes. Following the move to AIM, or as part of the move to AIM, we decided we'd move away and appoint Zeus as our brokers and Nomad and on the AIM market. Again, I think that will benefit the company. And I think the move to AIM will also is the right place for the company rather than a lost child in the main list. So hopefully the whole of that move will give us a strong platform to engage with shareholders more and move the group forward. So there's been quite a bit of evolution at the board, with William retiring, 2 new independent directors, and finally the appointment after the year end of Qadeer as formally as our CFO. And I think we've seen a big development in Qadeer over the last 2 years. So I think it's a really positive move for the group and a positive move for Qadeer in his personal development. I'll hand over to Pippa now. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Thank you very much for attending today and welcome. Just a brief summary of the agenda. So Paul has obviously done us an introduction as to where we are with regard to the board. I'm going to give you a very brief overview and some highlights before we go into the full financial review with Qadeer. I will then give you an update on strategy and what we're doing moving forward. So for those of you that know us, this will be a repeat of what you know about the business, but anybody that's new in the room or anybody that's watching, just an update in terms of who we are and what we do. So we've set a vision for ourselves this year, which really encapsulate everything that we do, and that is to be best-in-class, consumer-centric beauty and wellness product business. We do that by designing, developing, manufacturing, and distributing high-quality, value-added beauty and personal care and wellness products in a broad range of categories. We do it through full-service supply to all the major retailers in the UK and many international retailers, through our private label business, but also through our own brand business. We still have a small contract manufacturing revenue stream. I'll talk a little bit more about that and how we're thinking and viewing that particular route to market as I go through the presentation. And we have a team now of about 380 employees over 2 manufacturing sites in the UK, the head office in Peterborough, where there is about just shy of 300 people. And then we have the manufacturing unit down in Tiverton in Devon, where we have about 100 of us. So kind of a split there in terms of just giving you an idea on the employees. So in terms of the revenue stream split, done a comparison for last year, there's been a bit of a shift in so far as that private label is now taking over half of what we do in revenue for the 24-25 fiscal year, with the contract revenue stream reducing from 16 to 12%. I'll talk about that in a bit more detail. And then branded, a slightly smaller proportion of the overall pie because of the growth of private label. So things that are also important to know about us is that lots of what we do is award-winning, very important to us in terms of our standing in the market, both in terms of private label supply and our branded products. We focus on performance value-added products that always provide innovative solutions, and we try to ensure that what we do has global appeal. So some financial highlights that Qadeer will go through in more detail, but just to give you the top line, we have benefited from some revenue growth this year, just shy of £1 million for the total group. That has also been accompanied by an improvement in our gross margins by 1.8%. So from that point of view, nice positive momentum in the business. That has obviously flowed through to a significant improvement in our adjusted profit before tax, up to £3.5 million for the year. And then again through to the EBITDA number up to 5.1 million. Our cash has also improved. So our net cash on hand for the end of the year was 3 million, an improvement last year from 2.2. As a result of that, we are improving the dividend payout this year from 0.45 pence to 0.5 pence, which is about an 11% increase. And then obviously it's had an impact on the adjusted EPS, a positive impact there to 3.29 pence. Just some notes there about the impairment that was done last year, which those of you that know the business well will know that we went through that process with Emma Hardy. Very positively, no impairments this year, which is quite nice. Operational highlights for the business. Key has been focusing on margin. We're a very margin-centric and focused business, hence the improvement from 42.9% to 44.7%. Continuing to increase efficiencies and capacities in each of our factories. We went to a single shift working pattern on both sites about 2 years ago, continuing to benefit from that and push through more capacity through those shifts by being more efficient. Cost control and scalability, another big priority for us in terms of keeping our administrative costs under control and keeping the overheads under control in the business. We restructured our warehousing and logistics about 18 months ago. The benefits of that are still coming through the business, which has been very positive. We've particularly seen a gain in freight costs this year, where we've been more efficient in terms of the trunking that we do between the two sites. There were some gains to be made there by just being more efficient and planning better, and that's coming through, which is very nice to see on that side of the business. Our stock levels have increased slightly in line with the revenue growth. However, we did have quite a significant stock reduction the year before, so a marginal increase in stock, which has been in working capital. We have a cost-saving initiative team in the business that's been focusing on getting other things out of the business in terms of cost, really to battle the increases that we've got this financial year from the national insurance increases and the national living wage increases. That's something that is ongoing, and hopefully we'll see benefits during this year and into next year as we tackle the increases that have happened there. And then the other priority in operations has been digital transformation. We've had a big project going on this year that is now live and in situ, and that is we've put a full barcoded automatic warehouse management system into the business. That was also something that has benefited bringing all of our most of our warehousing back in. We still have a little bit of third-party warehousing, but that has been a big benefit to our business to put the WMS system in. The team have done that in record-breaking time. They did it in a 6-month period, and the benefits are now starting to come through the business. That's been a really exciting move forward for us as a business. I'm now going to hand over to Qadeer, who's going to do some more detailed explanation of the finances.
Thank you, Pippa, and welcome everybody. The overarching theme for this year's financial result is that the group's performance has led to an improved profitability driven by higher revenue, increased gross profit and operating profit margin. As you'll see on the right-hand side, the revenue for the year has increased to 54.1 million, an increase of 1.8% against the previous year. As Pippa mentioned, the private label category has increased year on year. Now private label is a 54% proportion of our business compared to 45% in the previous year. And that's as a result of 2 new UK customers, key accounts for us, that are driving both margin and profitability for the group. Branded and contract sales continue to be challenged. Branded sales, as you see on the chart, has reduced as a proportion of the business to 34% from 40%. So that equates to about £2.8 million reduction in revenue year on year. £1 million of that reduction was due to the strategy deployed by the group, the SKU rationalisation piece you may remember from the previous presentation. And that was a strategy that aimed to delist SKUs or exit SKUs that did not achieve a commercially viable contribution margin. Another £1 million of that revenue decline was as a result of international distributors underperforming. Contract revenue has also unfortunately declined, now forms 12% of the total business compared to 16% in the previous year. The main reason for that is our contract customer base continues to be challenged, which then as a result has a knock-on impact on our manufacturing quantities for them. And again, contract revenue space is a revenue stream we are continuously evaluating our position in. We want to ensure that it's contributing to the overall group's margin and profitability. So just as a summary, private label going as from strength to strength, contract and branded sales continue to be challenged. Gross profit margin for the group continues to be a positive story. As you can see, since FY23, the gross profit margin has seen an upward trend from 41.6% to 44.7%. And that is really a result of the strategy and policies and procedures the group has implemented over the last few years. One of those, which was the cost price increase monitoring, which allowed the business to monitor price increases across all categories of supply. So preempting that allowed us to either reformulate or redevelopment to protect our gross profit margins. Added to that, the SKU rationalisation piece I mentioned in the previous slide also helped protect gross profit margins. The business has invested in its manufacturing capability, so labour efficiencies and manufacturing efficiencies have also helped protect gross profit margins. Just to note, in FY21 and FY23, there was a dip in gross profit margins. They were exceptional circumstances. FY21, that was largely a result of COVID-19, where there was an increase in direct costs, both in terms of the cost base and also labour efficiency, which reduced productivity as a result of social distancing. In FY23, we saw an increase in direct costs as a result of the global inflationary pressures. As you may have seen from the results, the operating profit before exceptional costs, and as Pippa mentioned, the exceptional costs really pertain to the previous financial year where we had the Emma Hardy impairment. The operating profit before exceptionals has increased to 3.5 million from 1.5 million. And that really is a reflection of the strong cost control strategy the business has implemented, where we ensured the overhead base really aligned with the manufacturing output of the business and thus revenue. So distribution costs have decreased by 20.8% to 2.8 million from 3.5 million. And that was a result of bringing the picking and packing in-house, exiting third-party logistics and improving stock management, which drives greater efficiency. That, as a result, has reduced costs by 0.4 million. Again, a change in the sales mix has meant that the outbound freight cost has reduced. So a reduction in international or export customers has meant freight costs have come down by 0.3 million. The administrative costs have increased slightly, so 0.1 million, which equates to 0.6% year on year. Again, that is despite the revenue increase of 0.9 million. Our overhead structure is lean and quite efficient to deliver that revenue base. This cash flow movement is basically a waterfall chart that summarizes the cash flows, inflows and outflows for the group. So we had an opening cash position of 3.1 million for the 1st of April or the 31st of March 2024. Cash generating from operating activities or the P&L generated 5.2 million of cash throughout the year. Then working capital essentially consumed 2.3 million. And that is made up of the taxation paid, which is £1 million, and that was largely as a result of the group falling within the QIP or the quarterly instalment payment regime for corporation tax purposes. There was an increase in stock, which Pippa touched on, and also an increase in debtors at year end, which increased cash outflow of circa 2 million. Trade payables increased about 0.7 million, which is technically cash inflow as we didn't have to spend 0.7 million on trade payables. And that combined with the taxation paid of 1 million reduced or consumed working capital by 2.3 million. Cash utilised in investing activities equated to 0.7 million, which really is a function of PPE purchases. Cash used in financing activities equated to 1.7 million. That included the full repayment of the term loan, 0.6 million. So as you will see from the balance sheet, the group is quite lean and low geared. The only bank loan we currently have is the mortgage in relation to the main Peterborough site. Included within that is the payment of the dividend in relation to the FY24 results, which equated to 0.3 million. So the summary of those cash inflows and outflows meant the closing cash position on the business was 3.7 million. Just a bit more detail on working capital. So stock levels, as you're aware now, has increased by 0.7 million compared to the previous year. That really is a timing of manufacturing quantities held for specific customers, and therefore that was a conscious decision by the business to ensure we had stock on hand, finished good specifically for product launches in the new year. And again, that was a specific point in time with warehousing costs throughout the year reducing by 0.4 million over the course of the year. Stock turn has slowed down to 3.4 times compared to 3.7 times. Again, we had a significant reduction in closing stock by about 2 million in the previous year. And really, this is kind of balancing being lean in terms of stock holdings whilst also ensuring efficiency and delivery to our customer base. Trade debtor days has increased to 63 days from 58 days. Closing debtor balance, as I mentioned on the cash flow slide, has gone up by £1 million on its own. And again, that is really the reflection of our customer base and their credit terms. So we got, as I mentioned, in the private label category, 2 new UK retailers. They have extended credit terms compared to a typical customer. Creditors has increased by 0.6 million compared to March 24, and that is really a timing of when payments were made to suppliers, and fundamentally they went out 1st of April compared to 31st of March. We are exploring ways of extending our payment term with suppliers, which will assist us in managing our working capital. As a result of the financial performance, the board has proposed a final dividend of 0.5 pence per ordinary share, an 11% increase against the previous year. That's off the backdrop of the strong operational performance exhibited by the group, which has in turn generated both bottom line profit, increased cash, and also reduced our gearing. The board's objective is really to align the dividend payments not only with the financial performance, but also ensuring dividend growth that is both progressive and sustainable. That concludes the financial update. I'll hand back to Pippa.
Thank you, Qadeer. Okay, so a strategy update for you in terms of where we are. Just to introduce this portion, in moving to AIM, in restructuring the board, and in terms of what we've done over the past 6 to 12 months, we've really focused on defining a strategy for ourselves for growth and for moving forward. And there are a number of pillars that we have defined that are core to the heart of what we do. Building brands, growing our private label share, being an R&D focused business. That is really, really important, I think, for the future of the business to continue to be a value add business. The category that we're in, which is beauty and wellness, is very MPG driven. It's very new product driven. It's very trend driven. And in order to make sure that we take advantage of those opportunities and the changing needs and demands of consumers, we need to have R&D right at the center of our business. Maintaining core stable foundations, which we've hopefully explained to you today in terms of keeping the business lean, efficient, cost effective. Well-invested manufacturing and capabilities. We've made some real strides forward in terms of our strategy there, in terms of what we want to invest in, what we started to invest in, and that also includes digital transformation of the business. One of the projects that we're working on post-WMS is to aim for a paperless shop floor. We still have quite a lot of paperwork on the shop floor, and we're aiming to get that off the shop floor with digital screens and software that will manage real-time information in terms of manufacturing output. We've got a trial going on at the moment that's very positive that we're looking to roll out towards the back end of this year. Developing our teams and people, obviously always important. We can't do what we do without our people and our teams. And of course, delivering for shareholders. So there are key strategic pillars of our business that form what we want to do moving forward. So we had an off-site day with the board some months ago where I prepared a full strategy document in terms of how I see the business over the next 3 years. And these were some very key objectives that I would like to keep the business focused on as we drive growth and move the business forward. a sustained revenue growth model. So year on year, we can continue to make sure that the business is growing forward. So how do we do that? We need to invest in global markets, particularly for our brands. I think that's a very important thing in terms of moving our brands forward. It's been a really challenging area for us over the past couple of years in international markets. And in all honesty, we have kind of moved more into a distributor model in some markets. And actually, I want to move us back more direct to retail. The direct to retail model that we have and the business that we have in international continues to perform very well for us where we go direct to market. So again, that's kind of a shift for us in getting back to where we were with global markets. So a very important criteria. Product diversification. I think it's really important that we extend our capabilities in terms of the types of products that we manufacture, but also the types of products that we bring to market. And in doing that, we have brought on a consultant that is looking at lots of different types of products for us that we can add value both to our branded and private label business that we don't necessarily manufacture. We already have quite a high proportion in our branded business that is not product that we manufacture. So, for example, in T-Zone, we have nose pore strips. We have a number of SKUs in that range. We are the UK's #1 nose pore strip brand, interestingly. And we don't manufacture them. So there are lots of opportunities to add to our brands, but also to add to private label. So we're actively now sourcing and developing product that we don't manufacture. Digital direct to market, definitely for 2 of our key brands that are well price positioned in the direct to consumer space, and that is Feather and Down, and that is Emma Hardy. We're continuing to do well in the Amazon space. We've launched into Amazon Germany with those 2 brands. In fact, we've also added 2 more brands to Amazon Germany that we think works very well, and that's T-Zone and the Curl Company. But we'll be led by Emma Hardy and Feather and Down because the price position works, and investing in our own .com with Emma Hardy. One of the things that's happening this year, and we've invested some additional resource, again in global markets, and that is to get ourselves listed on more marketplaces. As you know, Amazon is the largest global marketplace. We have a model that works very well there. We have the opportunity to move to other marketplaces, both in the UK, but also in international markets. So that's an effort that's going on right now. And then category extensions, which predominantly will drive the private label business, but there will be a spin-off into our branded business. So traditionally, our core categories of expertise in private label has been in bath and body, baby, skincare, some hair care, and male grooming, and self-tan. 2 areas that we've targeted ourselves on are fragrance and SPF, of which we're making some great progress in both of those areas, and to be more active in the hair care area. We do hair care very well in branded. It's never really translated into private label. That's something that we need to extend into. Strengthening our private label market position. We are a dominant player in private label in the UK market in terms of the full service cradle to grave that we do. I want to ensure that we maintain that dominant position in private label. And in doing that, moving into other categories is going to be key, but it is also important that we're trading with all the key retailers that we want to. I think I stood here last year and said I wanted 2 more in the UK that we didn't have. We now have both of those. So we're now dealing with all of the retailers that we would want to deal with in the UK in private label. The goal now is to extend categories with those retailers to make sure that we're getting the breadth of supply into those retailers. And improving our manufacturing profile. I think the contract manufacturing business has known us well in manufacturing. I think there is an opportunity to make sure that our manufacturing profile on all trade platforms and all industry networks over the next 12 months has got a higher profile. So investing in our brands for growth, awareness and distribution. We have split that into some different categories. Our must-win brands. So it's important that we can invest more with key retailers in our must-win brands, and I'll take you through those in just a moment. We have identified that there is an opportunity with fast follow brands. We have always done fast follow very, very well in the private label space. We have done it to some degree within our brands, but not really recognized it as a complete revenue driver in its own right. So what has happened over the past 6 months is we've formed a dedicated team within our brand teams, just focusing on fast follow brands and working quickly to get product to market that is following the consumer demand very, very quickly. And I'll show some examples of that in just a minute. Also, brand creation in-house. Those of you that have known us for quite a long time will know that we created Feather and Down in-house. We have created Creightons in-house. We created the Curl Company in-house prior to doing the acquisitions of T-Zone, Balance Active and Emma Hardy. We've recognised as a team that we actually do this very, very well. And we're getting back to creating brands in-house and creating both fast follow, but also brands in-house. And you will see we're launching a new brand in the summer of 2026, and we haven't done that in quite some time. So that's quite an exciting development from us. And also recognising that I have a team of people in-house with regard to design, with regard to brand creation, with regard to R&D that can bring product to market very successfully. And then continuing to look at any opportunities that we think are a good fit for the business with regard to brand acquisition. And then finally, increasing our operational capacity, improving our efficiencies, a subject that we've talked about quite extensively in most of our presentations over the past 2 years, but continuing to ensure that's at front of mind. And that's CapEx investment, focused on making sure that we are increasing our capacities, but also our capabilities. And one of those areas over the past 6 months that we have done is in our ability to manufacture fine fragrance. We have always manufactured premium high-end fragrance. We needed to invest in our machinery to make us more cost-effective, to allow us to enter into the mass fragrance space. And that's something that we've made really good strides in, particularly in the private label space over the past 6 months, with a fairly serious investment in our fragrance manufacturing line in Devon in order to drive costs down, in order for us to go and get more volume business. So that's a good example of what's happening there in CapEx. Digital transformation, I've already touched on. The WMS is now in. We're going for a paperless shop floor. We're putting in a automated artwork software management system to help with the process of artwork management, which is a really big piece of our business with the amount of products that we do. But one of the things that we have acknowledged we need to do over the past 12 to 24 months, and probably one of the biggest risk areas in the business operationally right now, is our ERP system. It's very dated, it's very old, it's no longer supported. We have a great internal team that understand it very well, but that has a life on it that needs to be addressed. So one of the things that we are going to be investing in over the next kind of 12 to 24 months is a new ERP system to make sure that we are fit for the future. Another goal is to improve our lead times generally and bringing product to market. Life with COVID, life with inflation has got really challenging with supply chains, with lead times going out with suppliers and going out with a number of areas in our business. We are determined that we want to get our lead times down. So we've targeted ourselves to make an improvement of about 4 to 6 weeks over the next 12 to 18 months so that we're bringing product to market quicker. So that's an individual goal that we want on the operational side. And then obviously our sites, we're continually reviewing the efficiency of both the sites, any consolidation opportunities, any opportunities to bring them together. Both of them are doing incredibly well at the moment. Both are making a really big contribution. I think the big shift has been Devon. When we purchased the Devon site some years ago, it was mainly in the contract manufacturing business and did very little of anything else. It now makes a really big contribution to the manufacture of our private label brands and our brands that we own. So I touched on earlier how important R&D is for our business. And one of the things I've tried to do over the past 12 to 18 months is get it at the center of our business, as opposed to a service to manufacturing or a service to brand development or private label customer development, is actually having R&D right at the center of everything that we do. And that's proving very well for us and will also help us with speed to market. So we've done quite a bit in terms of team investment. We've got a new head of R&D that joined us a couple of months ago, which is a very positive move forward. He comes from retail, so he's worked for the big retailers in the UK in category management and category technical management, so bringing a lot of positivity to us in terms of skill set. We've also created a new role in the business, in fact, 2 of them, which is an innovation manager. So taking our very experienced, very well qualified senior chemists, pulling them out of the R&D team and putting them into the marketing and brand teams and the sales team so that they're right out front and center with our customers. That is proving very well for our private label business, where you have to do a very technical sell in the private label world, but is also proving very well in our branded business. And it's creating a really nice link between our R&D technical team and what they do on the bench and what they produce in terms of formulations, and transferring that knowledge in a way that is we can commercially realize for both private label and brand. We are continuing to invest in our SPF skincare development. I've been talking about this now for about 18 months. We have some phenomenal banker formulations that the gang have now developed and had tested. We have sampled to all the major retailers in the UK, and there's some really nice briefs going on right now in SPF that I would hope to see into 26 and 27, that we're really doing some nice manufacturing and SPF development. Fragrance EDT body spray category development. We have always done this category. We've just always done it in a very small way. And it's mainly been in contract manufacturing, and it's mainly been with premium brand. We want to move ourselves more into the mass space with fragrance EDTs and body sprays. We have already done that in the body spray arena with a number of big retailers in the UK. And now we're moving into fragrance. We just had a big win of our first 4 fragrances with a major retailer in the UK that is launching in October. So that's going to be a nice catalyst for us to be able to move into that space with other retailers. Fast follow, speed to market and trend led. I've spoke about that already in terms of creating a team within our branded division to do fast follow brands, which I'll show you a little bit more in a minute. Continually working on cutting edge ingredients, product textures and formats. That's the heart of what we do. And then working with materials on the sustainable side, which obviously is an agenda that we have to be looking at as well. Legislation, we are still working to EU regs in the UK despite Brexit. I can't see that changing. Worldwide recognised. There's lots going on in terms of allergens. There's lots going on in terms of sustainability. It's a really complicated area of the market. We do it well. We invest in people that know what to do here. We have a technical compliance team. It's something that it has to be part of the R&D process continually. So just to step back a little bit and give you a bit more about the brands and how we're subdividing the brands and the priorities. These are what we define as our must-win brands. These are brands that are in mass retail, premium retail, predominantly in the UK market, but beginning to impact in international markets. And that's obviously Emma Hardy at the premium end in the skincare space, but we actually sell it as a wellness brand. And that's quite an important twist that we've put on the brand over the past 12 months. The premium skincare positioning is incredibly crowded. There is a lot of premium skincare brands. You have to stand out. We have spun the brand in terms of its messaging, completely done the marketing approach on it, and are selling it as a wellness brand. And that seems to be getting a lot more attention in terms of pushing the brand through. Feather and Down, masstige brand. We've made a major step forward with a major retailer in the UK. We just launched from 150 stores into 800 stores this week. So hopefully you'll be walking into one of the mass retailers in the UK and you'll be seeing that. And we've gone from 2 shelves to 3 shelves. The brand is doing incredibly well in that space as a wellness brand, as an indulgent bath and body brand. And you will see we've brought out a new magnesium sub-brand within Feather and Down to add some innovation and what's going on. When I highlighted that we've got a brand new brand coming out in early 2026, spring of 2026, it's a premium positioned Feather and Down brand. So it's taking the Feather and Down brand that is very much in masstige and premiumizing it. And premiumizing it predominantly for the travel sector and premiumizing it for premium retail. So we've been taking the concept round, particularly to the travel sector globally for some time now. Love the concept, love the brand, love the wellness. It needs a premium positioning. So we have developed a premium position of Feather and Down to take it globally into the travel market, but also premium retail. Curl Company, mass positioning hair care in the curls, coils and wave space, doing very well for us internationally. Balance Active Formula, our mass positioned skincare brand, that we purchased some years ago that's very ingredient-led, a lot more NPD coming through there. Balance has grown incredibly well for us over the past few years, but has slowed down in the past 18 months because that space has become incredibly crowded. The big boys have got in finally on the act of single ingredient skincare-led serums and the like. So we've got a lot of NPD coming out on Balance over the next 12 months to keep its position moving forward. And T-Zone, which is actually probably our biggest growth brand this year, the blemish troubled skin market is doing incredibly well. There's some redesign that's gone on. You'll see that it's just appeared in one big grocer. We've gone into 80 stores with another big grocer in the UK with the new design, which just launched last month. So there's a lot happening in that space as well. And we've got our first international launch happening on T-Zone early 26. I mentioned Fast Follow. So we've created this team to take up the opportunity of the demand of consumers wanting Fast Follow products, not dupes. We are not in the dupe business when it comes to our own brands. There is an opportunity to take advantage of very quick win trends that are happening in the market. These brands won't necessarily have a long life, and they're going to have to move very, very quickly. It's all about getting product to market very quickly. Although it could be that one captures the imagination of the consumer and might have some life in it for some time. So we've got a hair care brand in mass positioning called Styler, which is all about styling products. That's actually getting the most attention right now. We have a skincare brand that is really more for kind of your Gen A, Gen Z positioning. Natural World in bath and body, predominantly for the international market. That's going to launch next month. And then we have another skincare brand called Pop and Glow. This is just what we have now. There are probably another 5 to 10 concepts that are being worked on behind the scenes. Working directly with some customers who are looking for something very specific. So you have major retailers that go, can you do X? We don't want to do it in private label. Can you do a fast follow brand for us? So that sort of thing is going on. Sometimes it's just a matter of a few products. They just want 3 or 4 SKUs in a particular category to take advantage of a trend, and we can do that too. But I just wanted to kind of bring it to life for you and give you a flavour of what we've been doing behind the scenes in terms of pulling brands together that are very fast follow. In terms of where we are on our brands currently, just to give you kind of how they're positioned within the business, Creightons and what we do there on the Creightons branding is still the largest proportion of our brands in terms of value. And that's because we have lots of different things under the Creightons branding. We have a hair care brand, we have a skincare brand, we have some self-tan products. There's lots of different things that happen there. And this is mainly in the discount space in terms of what we do with Creightons, but still is 27% of our total branded revenue stream. Balance, Emma Hardy, T-Zone and Feather and Down, all at the same size, which is quite interesting because they're all in very different retailers and very different space, all representing 15% each in terms of what we do. And then Curl at 13%, which has actually come up quite nicely because Curl was only representing about 8% last year. So Curl's come up quite nicely. It's doing very well with an international retailer, and we just got another international listing that launched about 2 months ago that's doing well. The take from this is we focused in terms of international development on the Middle East market. Past 12 months, that's been a big priority for us. So you'll see there's quite a lot going on in terms of we've managed to get Emma Hardy and Feather and Down into the duty-free space in Qatar. We've gone into Lulu, which is a big grocer hypermarket in Saudi Arabia, but also in the UAE. Looks like we may be moving into Oman with them as well. So there's lots of opportunities. They're also in Kuwait, Bahrain, and various other places there. Nadi continues to be a big retailer for us in Saudi Arabia. We've traded with them for about 4 years in both the private label space and the branded space. They've just taken T-Zone, which is quite exciting. And then, as I said, we've launched a number of the brands on Amazon Germany. So Middle East continues to be a very important market for us. There's lots of stretch. Qatar Duty Free is beginning to generate some additional retail opportunities for Emma Hardy in the Middle East, and that will continue to be a priority for us moving forward. Private label, I've already touched on the priority in private label is to extend our expertise into other categories. And that's the way to grow our private label base. We are dealing with every major retailer in the UK that has a positive value add private label category. Now we need to extend our expertise through capability and through market knowledge in terms of what we do to extend what we do and grow our business there. So working with best-in-class retailers, that is where private label works the best. R&D development, I've already touched on and how important that is, and getting our innovation managers out front and centre. UK supply, we are still in a very dominant position as a private label supplier in the UK market. Globally sourced, so adding to our portfolio of what we can do with retailers by globally sourcing different types of products, and obviously margin positive products, making sure that we keep that private label space very value add in terms of margins for us. So we've moved from 8 to 9 customers in the past year. We've gone from 9 to 12 categories, and we're in excess of 356 products. It's rattling around the kind of 450, 500 mark. But we have a lot of private label products now with a couple of big retailers in the UK that go in as special buys and come back out. So our numbers on products go in and out all the time. Operationally, touched on this already as one of our pillars in terms of what we want to do as strategic priorities. Capital investment program, very important. Our cost footprint and making sure it's in line with our sales and profit profiles. Training, more structured training is going into the business. We will continue to do that. We've got more apprenticeships in the business in terms of core skills and skilling up our team. And I think that's the priority in terms of manufacturing, is skilling people up. along with the digital transformation piece, making sure that we've got more operational control and using technology to do that. And I already outlined that we're doing a paperless shop floor with software that's going to give us more real-time information. Touched on the big digital transformation that we're doing. And then, of course, environmental and safety requirements and making sure that we continue to do what's necessary there, which, of course, are increasing all the time. But don't want to ignore that that's a priority in the business, and it does take resource and it does take energy and effort to make sure that that happens. So then finally, in terms of our last fiscal year, solid financial performance, generating cash and improving our margins. We have returned to revenue growth, and that is a priority moving forward. Keeping our costs in line with our revenue performance, continuing to improve our operational efficiency in manufacturing and systems. Labour is going to continue to increase in the UK when it comes to the cost of labour. We have to keep transforming ourselves to ensure that we're in line with those changes. Additional R&D investment and refining and focusing our strategic plan in terms of what we want to do. So that's focusing on our brands, our investment in our team, investing more in marketing and brand awareness for our core must-win brands, having a fast follow opportunity there and going into new channels. And travel is a big one in terms of what we're doing with our brands. And that goes everything from airlines to duty-free to cruises. So there's a lot going on in that travel space at the moment in terms of where we're pushing our brands. Probably have a lot more to talk to you about there at the interims in terms of what's going on there. Private label, new categories, retaining our dominant position, keeping our expertise and investing in that. Making sure that we have a product pipeline, very important, the speed of MPD, and improving that, and then third-party source products to add to our portfolio and allow us to get into other categories. More investment in manufacturing and the digital transformation, and then, of course, keeping focused on our people and making sure that we're upskilling and that they're well-trained and that we're ready for the future in terms of what we want to do and how we want to develop.
Great, Pippa. Thank you very much indeed, and Qadeer and Paul.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you.